Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of TBR. I'm George Binns, and since you probably recognize this is the election season, we have with us tonight our state representative, Jerry Parisella. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. Good to be here, George.
And you just sorted me out. You're not only our state rep for City of Beverly, but got half of Wenham.
Yes.
So how did that happen?
Every 10 years when they do the census, they have to redistrict our districts. So every rep has roughly about 43,000, 44,000 people in their district. So they added half of Wenham to my district. So I still have all the City of Beverly and now a portion of Wenham. I share it with Rep Kearns, who covers Danvers, Topsfield, part of Wenham.
Okay.
So that's why. So for the first 5 terms, then I had just Beverly, and now they've added that.
Okay, so you're running for your 7th term?
Yes.
Yeah. So have you been having fun all this time? You must be. You're running for re-election, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I grew up in Beverly High grad, it's my hometown, so
yeah.
I've loved having the opportunity to represent Beverly,
yeah.
And I'd love to do it again for another 2 years.
Well, once you've been there for all these years, what have you been able to accomplish lately?
So I chair the Economic Development Committee, which is one of the bigger committees, so I feel good about that because that shows that the leadership feels that I can take on that responsibility to chair an important committee like that. And I always, even though I chair the Economic Development Committee and it's got statewide implications, I always try to focus on the local issues and what's happening in Beverly and making sure that we get our adequate funding from the state. Like in the last 4 years, Beverly's gotten about $53 million for our schools, about $27 million in general local aid that the city can use from anything for like parks, recreation, police, fire, things like that. $4 million for our roads. As everyone knows, the roads are in kind of tough shape with all the construction going on.
Yeah.
And
one thing that sticks in my mind years ago, went down to the Lobster Fest and met one of the old aldermen from the City of Beverly who retired to Florida and came back and he said, well, you're in Beverly when the car starts to bounce.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing challenge, and I wish Mike Collins a lot of luck. He's doing a good job with what he's got, but it's really a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that whole National Grid project where they're putting in the underground electrical wire, it's causing a lot of issues with the roads, and it's an issue. Salem dealt with it a couple of years ago. It ran through Salem, and now it's coming through Beverly.
Yeah, now it's our turn.
Yeah, so now it's our turn. I mean, they have some money that they're going to have to put into it as well, but so that money that I'm talking about sort of supplements. And then there's different money like for the Bridge Street project that they're redoing. That's like $15 million that the city got for that, so specifically for that. So the other $4 million I'm talking about can just be used anywhere, but there are other grant monies available. Also I'm trying to help the city with some of the projects that they're working on, like the parks. Like I got $200,000 for Simon and Gage Street Park, $200,000 for Gillis Park, which is in Goat Hill.
Yeah.
Pickleball is a huge thing these days. I couldn't believe how much I was hearing about pickleball, especially during COVID. So the new pickleball courts up by the airport, I got $200,000 from the state to help build those.
Yeah.
And people love it, So, I've just heard a lot about pickleball courts. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that I've been working on.
Yeah, it's a good thing to get people out and into the fresh air and moving around. And can't knock that. But anyway.
Especially during COVID, I mean, people were trying to find activities outside. They felt like they were locked into their houses.
Yeah.
And pickleball was one of them that I think really helped folks get out.
Yeah. And you mentioned Bridge Street. Then we get to the other end of Bridge Street where there ain't no bridge working anymore.
Right.
And this has been an ongoing. This is one of the issues I think that I'm having trouble understanding is. The state builds a bridge, and supposedly they maintain it. And it comes up to, okay, we do an inspection every year, and they have some idea what the case of the bridge is about, and they should imagine they would see it starting to deteriorate. And the question is, where's the money available to start thinking about replacing it before it fails, so that it's out for maybe 6 months while they tear the old one out of the way and put the new one in. But 13 years, I mean, this I guess is a problem that galls a lot of people, especially on the Rouse side area, that it's just taking forever to get anything done.
No question about it. I mean, initially, so it was on the list to be replaced, but initially it was supposed to be the Kernwood Bridge that was going to be replaced first, because that is in tough shape as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what happened was when, as you said, they do these inspections, and then they did a little deeper dive inspection, and city officials, myself, Senator Lovely, the mayor, I mean, we got a one-day notice that the state was shutting down the Hall-Whitaker Bridge.
Yeah.
You know, they said, hey, we have a really important meeting. You know, can we do it tomorrow? Didn't sound great.
Yeah.
And then we're told, you know, they're shutting down the bridge. So, you know, we've been hammering them about trying to speed up the timeline to replace that. They have come up with a plan for a temporary bridge that will run parallel to the current Hall-Whitaker Bridge. Hoping to get that started probably in another year and a half or so. Part of the issue is I think that the bidding is going to go out early February, March of 2025, and then hopefully get started construction after that. So I say finish in a couple of years. Part of the issue is there's federal jurisdiction and state jurisdiction. The state has waived all of their maritime requirements, like regarding spawning fish and stuff like that. But the feds haven't done that yet. So there's like a 6-month window where they don't allow construction because they're saying the marine life underneath. So we're trying to work with the feds and Congressman Moulton's office and others to help give us some relief on that. So I think that's part of the issue with the timeline. It gets very frustrating for folks. They're like, why the heck can't we just do it? The bridge is already there. Let's just replace it.
Yeah.
So I can promise the folks that are watching that we've been working every day to try to get them to speed it up.
I know. It's got to be very frustrating to keep batting your head against the proverbial stone wall and not making much. And
the money is there. I just wanted to make sure folks know that.
Yeah, and it's really an issue. Well, we got stuck on the same game with trying to dredge the Bass River.
Right.
All of a sudden, the Corps of Engineers turns around and says, "You can't dump that stuff in the ocean." What do you mean? It's too bad. But it's in our backyard, you know.
I know. And they had already given us a permit to do it too. So.
And so I guess this is one of the issues that I guess a lot of people, and me included, have a tough time understanding. When you get into some of these problems, there's so many entities that have got a piece of the action, and trying to get them all together and nod their head at the same time and say, yeah, we can do it. And you see it happening with the bridge out in Florida, and then the one in Baltimore when they took the bridge out with the boat and made a right turn when it shouldn't have. And you can see where sometimes somebody can put the emphasis on it and something happens. Good. And then there are times, well, it's not that important. And so I guess that's one of the issues that seems to be smoldering in the background almost forever.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that, you know, I personally talked to Congressman Moulton and Senator Markey about it, and they're trying their best to speed things up, you know, and get the Coast Guard. It's the Coast Guard and the Army Corps of Engineers federally that have jurisdiction. So
that's one of the things that I find incongruous. That I used to be in the Corps of Engineers way back when learned how to put together a Bailey Bridge, and that's one of their stock and trades. And yet, why couldn't we throw one across the river and get it done for? You know?
I've asked that question myself.
I know, you and I have had this discussion a couple of times, and the answer comes back blank.
Yeah.
You know, but
I know.
So it's one of the issues, and I think we get into a similar kind of situation trying to develop Folly Hill. There's an entrance to Folly Hill off of 128, and you can get off Folly Hill and onto 128, but you got to head east.
Right.
How do you head west? Because there's a lot of business to the west of Beverly that people will want to get into. And again, trying to develop this area, how do we make this happen is, I guess, the question. And it's, again, not something that the city can just say, okay, we'll just do that. And we've been talking about a bridge across 128 to get to Dunham Road for almost forever. And again, this is another one of these issues where there are so many entities involved, it takes forever. So I guess one of the things that I guess most of us would like to understand are how can we make something happen?
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned the Dunham Road. I mean, I guess I can give you a little breaking news because today they're going to announce the city's going to get a $3.5 million grant to start some of the planning and development for that overpass near the music theater.
Oh, that goes back to
yeah. Mayor Scanlon had been working on that for a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that would really help alleviate the traffic there with the folks coming in and out of the music theater, and it would also open up some development. There's 200 acres of land that could be developed there as well. So
yeah, I think Cummings and I don't know who else is involved in it, already developing some of those acres. And again, it's part of the game of keeping this Beverly a vibrant city. That it's nice to have most of the people who live here be able to work here.
Right.
And of course, you get to the other half of the game. It would be nice to have all the people that work here be able to live here. So. More housing, like as in Folly Hill, that's part of the growing up of a city.
I think housing is probably the biggest challenge in Massachusetts right now, especially in eastern Massachusetts, North Shore, for sure. I mean, we did pass a housing bond bill this session. It's about $5 billion, so it's the biggest in the history of the Commonwealth. And a big part of that is we already have 43,000 units of affordable housing that all the public housing authorities have, but those were built in typically most of them were built in the 50s after World War II, so they're not in the greatest shape. So $2 billion of that would go to revitalize those units because a lot of them are vacant now because they don't meet the current codes.
Yeah.
So that would create housing right there. It's already built, it just needs to be updated to meet current standards. So that's going to be a big push as part of that. Also, as part of the housing bond bill, it says that cities and towns can't restrict these accessory dwelling units, a lot of people call them in-law apartments or granny apartments.
Granny apartments, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially that could create, they estimate maybe 8,000 units of housing right there. So someone like my mom, who's been living in her house for 60-something years, on her own now, paying taxes on that, someone like her could build a ADU. She could either decide to stay in the house or maybe go to that smaller unit and rent out the other property, and that keeps her in her house. And it
also provides a little supplemental income for somebody living on Social Security. That's another challenge. If that's all I had to survive on, I wouldn't be doing very well at all.
Exactly. I mean, they may have a lot of equity in the house, but they don't have the cash. So this would help them out.
That's a game of funny money. You think you're really rich when you look at the estimated price that Zillow says the house is worth. But the example I like to keep using is if I had bought a block of gold, a bar, when I bought the house, it would be worth gobs of money. But if I get into a bind, I would take a slice off and sell it. Go into the backyard and take a shovel full of dirt. Nobody wants that, not even me. Yeah. So it's funny money, and that's one of the things that I think people get caught up in. That they're land rich, but dollars value is something you can't tap into very easily.
Exactly.
So
we think that ADU proposal could help folks, and there's also some proposals to help out first-time home buyers. That 20% down payment is tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So to be able to help folks out with that is important as well.
And I think the other part of the game too is when you're trying to sell an ADU, there has to be some relief from the not in my backyard people that, it's going to create too much traffic or something like that. That's the facts of life of the city. There's cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of the law is that it can't be larger than 900 square feet. So typically, you're not going to be having a large family moving into the ADU.
No, but
Yeah.
you're going to rent out the big house,
Yeah.
or sell it or something like that, and live in the ADU. That's
Right.
yeah. And I never had the opportunity to do it. The kids never moved out of the house at one time, so they
Yeah.
kept coming back, and
Yeah.
and that works for me, and I have no complaints about that at all.
Right.
But there are people that have a challenging situation, like you say, of trying to support a big house. And the realization came to me one time that I had a problem with the gutter. So, okay, I get the ladder out and go up and fix it. I couldn't put the ladder up anymore. So it gets to be a point that physically you can't maintain a big house. And what are you going to do with it?
Right.
And I've known several people that, okay, I want to downsize. Where am I going to downsize to? One guy and his wife I know, they had to go all the way to Newburyport to find something. So it's a part of the challenge in the city of Beverly in particular, coming up with housing that is affordable. And that's Andrew DeFrenz's variation on it, as opposed to the definition of affordable housing, which most people can't afford anyway.
Yeah.
Not by that definition.
I mean, Andrew and Harbor Light and those folks like that, North Shore CDC that do the affordable housing. Yeah, they have to get these tax credits, which are part of the state program.
Yeah.
And then it helps fund those. So yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things that we try to support to create more housing. It's amazing what's happening with Briscoe, you know, and also Anchor Point, up on Torshire Road.
Yeah, they're putting up the second building now.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Anchor Point that I don't think it's emphasized enough is they have after-school programs, and they have other programs for the people that are in there. How do you get a better job? What kind of training do you need? Where can you get it? This kind of support helps people either avoid the prices of those places or move on. As the family grows, you need a bigger space, and I think.
Yeah, it's a great model. I mean, what they're doing, so they have the housing, and like you said, they have a facility where they can provide job training, and they're going to partner with Pathways for Children, which does early education, and they got $1 million grant to help facilitate that, so the folks that are living there can have childcare, which is another huge issue for folks.
Oh yeah.
Some people work in a second job and are paying almost everything to the childcare provider. So to provide affordable housing and affordable daycare is huge.
Yeah. There's a blog I follow that features a teacher from Chicago, and he makes no bones about it. His wife makes very good money, and he is almost a stay-at-home father. And the thing he likes about teaching is he's off when the kids are. So he's around when they are, kind of thing. And he recognizes that he's taken a hit in pay to do that, but it's the way it has to be, kind of thing. So there's a lot of situations like that, and I think Harbor Light is doing a tremendous job for the city of Beverly and Essex County, mostly in the North Shore in general.
Yeah, the challenge for them is that they try to do projects, and then like you said, there's a lot of NIMBYism, not in my backyard. So that everyone acknowledges that we need affordable housing, and then the question is when they try to do it, sometimes there's a lot of resistance.
Well, that's part of the game with the ruling that around railroad stations you have to have multifamily zoning. We've had that, I don't know, 10, 15 years now, I think, something in that order. And other than down on Rantoul Street, which I guess is within the radius of the train station, I don't see anything happening in any of the other areas. So it's nice to put it on the books, but I guess the challenge is how do you implement it and how do you get something started? And there has to be an organization, something like Harbor Light or equivalent. That needs,
Yeah, a lot of smaller towns are opposed to it. You know, there's been a lot of
Yeah.
challenges. The state Supreme Court just had oral arguments about that law
Yeah.
this week, so we'll see if they rule that it's permissible or not. The town of Milton is challenging the law, so that's going to be a big decision on whether or not, you know, I think the SJC will uphold the law, but you know, who knows?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that gets to the other question of how do you get to somewhere from here? And there's a lot of static in the air about MBTA, especially downtown. And you know, it seems like almost every other week a train jumped the tracks again. And if you want to have a vibrant area around a big city like Boston or like Worcester, how do you connect them? And I think we've had this discussion before about converting the trains to electric for environmental reasons and making all this stuff happen. There still gets to be the fundamental question of how do we get a good system going and keep it going? And I don't know where the legislature steps into one of these games and how much is the responsibility of the state, the governor's office and her staff.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a big push to electrify the commuter rail.
Mm-hmm.
They could provide more frequent service if it's electrified. As you said, there's the environmental benefits of it.
Yeah.
It should be more reliable. You know, we've got diesel engines now spewing up all the diesel, and I would say just in general with the T, the commuter rail seems to be doing much better now in terms of on-time performance and getting folks, especially from like Beverly to Boston. The question is, you get up at North Station and then trying to hop on one of the subway cars, and that's where it seems to be a lot of the problems. I would say Phil Eng, the new MBTA general manager who came from New York and New Jersey, their train service is really trying hard to make a difference. He's really working it. I mean, it's probably a miracle to get the T as efficient as it should be, but they're definitely working on that. And I can just tell you there is a big push to try to modernize the trains. I mean, you go to Europe and you just see how efficient they are,
Yeah.
how fast they run. No reason why we shouldn't be able to model that.
Well, it's just a matter of you got to go dig up the old rails and put down a better class of rail system. If you're going to run at 130 miles an hour like they do in Europe or in Japan, or you look at China and how much they have expanded their rail system, and it's just a matter of deciding to do it and spending the money on it. I think Eisenhower gets credit for the highway system and somewhat of a subterfuge that in case we get invaded, we need to have highways so we can move the troops around. Okay, that's a good idea, and that's sold. But in reality, how did they get to our shore anyway? What happened to the Navy, you know?
Yeah.
So that's another game. But it takes somebody like an Eisenhower to make a decision that we're going to do this nationally, and all you states start falling in line. And I think it's beyond this, I guess, the local responsibility of the local legislature, but it's something to keep in mind that on a smaller scale, that's what we got to do. Somebody's got to say, I want a high-speed rail between Worcester and Boston, or between Providence and Boston, because Rhode Island is getting to be a suburb of Boston these days.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
One of the lines will be electrified. I think it's the Fairmont line, so that'll sort of be like the test case, and then we're going to see how that works out, and then hopefully that can be replicated for the North Shore and other areas.
Yeah. 'Cause I know when I was living in Chicago, first day at work, I drove the car from the apartment I was living in up to the center of town, took the rode out to Pulaski Street, and turned in there, and that was an easy ride. Coming back, I got stuck on the Southeast Expressway, 6 lanes wide in each direction. There still was traffic all the while. And I'm sitting there watching this train go down the island. Oh, the dawn hit, you know. From then on, I just took the L.
Yeah.
It stands for elevated trains.
Yeah.
Because everything was on the tracks that were 40 feet up in the air. And it was, to me anyway, it was a very convenient and very effective way to get back and forth to work. And I just can't imagine why it's not happening someplace else. But, yeah. So that's another one of these big problems that we're so ingrained with what we've got that we can't step out of that zone.
Yeah, we want to get people back on the trains and the subway because traffic is so bad again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, but it's got to be reliable. People need to be able to rely on it.
Yeah.
And the work habits have changed so much. A lot of people are doing hybrid work now. Maybe they work from home Monday and Friday and commute Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So they decide, do I drive or do I take the train? The numbers for the train have definitely gotten back to closer to COVID numbers, but still a lot of traffic. You know?
Yeah. And so there's a lot of issues to work on, and I guess you're going to take another crack at it.
Keep plugging away. Hopefully
yeah.
folks will send me back. I'd really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'd love the opportunity to serve Beverly and Wenham again.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us this evening, and if you think of some more things we need to thrash at, we can do it again.
Well, thanks. Appreciate the time.
Yep. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned. We will be doing more of these.